Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to, I think it's our 12th Medal of Liberty presentation, as we call it, the 9/11 Awards. And the big thing about this is it shows our working together with the police and fire in this town. We showed this year, which is the 100th anniversary of the American Legion. We showed this by placing flags and posters up for both the Police Memorial Day and the Fire Memorial Day. And that was sort of a tie between all of us together. I'm going to make a couple of introductions here. Senate President Karen Spilka, State Representative Carolyn Dykema, and Chairman of the Select Board, Mark Aronian, and I'm going to ask Mark to welcome you here.
Good morning, all, and welcome to Town Hall. The Board of Select could not be more appreciative of our veterans for putting this program together, for our safety officials who do so much for our town and community, and often putting in extra time that people aren't aware of, and the things they do to collaborate to keep us all safe in so many ways. So thank you all very much, and I want to congratulate the 8 recipients today. It's quite an honor, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Senate President Spilka.
Thanks. Good morning. It's good to be with you on this solemn day of remembrance. I'd like to thank the community of Holliston. Every year, the veterans, Steve, and all of the veterans of the American Legion do such a fantastic job in helping to bring us together to ensure that we will never forget the names of the men and women lost on 9/11, and to celebrate our first responders, our police and firefighters, because that is something that we know we need to keep in mind and celebrate. But the day is also a remembrance that allows us to reflect on the fact that it's community. It's such a strong community here in Holliston, and that's what makes us great as a nation, a state, and for Metro West. As long as we remain open and loving and an accepting community, the terrorists and what happened on 9/11 will never happen again. This day we remember strength and kindness that we share as Americans, as neighbors, and as friends. And that's really important. We put aside our differences to help each other and to reinforce our common values. We continue to honor the memories of those we lost that day by working together in that spirit every single day to build stronger, more diverse, more welcoming, and more resilient communities. To solve, and this is what Holliston does so well and in Metro West, solve complex problems to make the daily lives of our neighbors and our friends better, and to build a future free of fear. So this morning I'm reminded of the words of former President Barack Obama, and he said, "Even the smallest act of service, the simplest act of kindness, is a way to honor those that we lost, a way to reclaim that spirit of unity that followed in 9/11. So we reflect on those words and we recommit ourselves to living out our common values as Americans: kindness, community, cooperation, and caring. Not just today, but every day. Thank you.
Representative Dykema.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Steve and the Legion for pulling this together and for allowing us all to be together here to recognize all of our tremendous first responders here in Holliston. All of you who are in the Legion have served our country and served with distinction, and it means a tremendous amount that you're able to allow us this opportunity to recognize others who serve our community every day. I want to recognize, of course, the recipients who are here today. It's, quite noteworthy what you have done, and I know we're going to hear some of the details of those stories here pretty soon, and they're quite remarkable. To the families of those who serve our community, I think you know more than anyone how much this is not a job as first responder that you leave at the office. And you bring it home every day with you, and you as families are there to support those folks who serve us, and we greatly appreciate that as well. And I want to be brief today, because truly this is an opportunity to recognize our first responders, and I really want to get to those stories. And I just want to comment on the stories that you will hear. And I find myself reflecting on the details every time we have this great ceremony. And it strikes me that what we hear is the men and women of this community showing up when they are needed at some of the most difficult times for some families in our community. And sometimes these stories are surprising to me, and things that I think us in the community we prefer not to think about that affect our communities every day. Things like the opiate crisis, things like mental health concerns, suicide, domestic violence, all of those really difficult things that happen in every community across the country. And all of you in this room, and those of you who are going to be honored today, show up every day at those tough times when people need you. And when I hear the stories, I find myself thinking about the families and the loved ones that are so grateful to you for showing up in their moment of greatest need. And I want to echo that and say that we also, as a community, are so grateful for you showing up in times of need. I would be surprised if any of us in this room have not had an opportunity to need you, and you were there. So thank you for that. Senate President gave some wonderful, uplifting comments about what it means to be part of a community and what it means to show up for each other. And I'd just like to echo those. And I will end on a comment. The Senate President mentioned President Barack Obama and one of his quotes. I will end with a comment from President Kennedy, who said that we don't do it because it's easy. We do it because it's hard. And you all truthfully do the hard work every day. And we're so appreciative. So thank you very much.
Okay, before we get to the awards, I just want to say something about the spirit of cooperation between police, fire, and the veterans. And you all will recall a couple weeks ago, Bellingham hosted the Wall That Heals. If you've ever been to that, or been to the real wall, then you know what that means. But we were notified that we were going to be hosting part of the procession between its last stop and on its way to Bellingham. So together with the police and the fire in this community, we made sure that there was a straight through. And you know what it's like here at 3:30 in the afternoon, driving down Washington Street. I guess when you have a state police escort, you move along a little faster, but it was quite a day, and we probably had 50 or 60 citizens and veterans out in front of Town Hall to salute the wall as it came through and to remember our 58,000 brothers and sisters. So that's my talk for the morning, and we're going to get on to the awards ceremony. We're going to do the fire department first, and so if Deputy Moore and Deputy Delacour would come up. When I call your name, if you would come up to the front, please. Firefighter EMT Dylan Mahoney. And I'm going to read the citation from Chief Cassidy. On Monday, December 10th, 2018, at 11:40 a.m., a 911 call reported a resident had collapsed in her driveway on Colonial Way. Police, the ambulance, and paramedics from Fallon EMS were dispatched to the scene. While the fire department's emergency medical dispatcher provided pre-arrival instructions to a neighbor on how to perform CPR, firefighter EMT Mahoney responded directly to the scene, which was just a few blocks from his home. Working with the first responder police officers, firefighter Mahoney assisted with emergency care, even though he was not on call for the ambulance that day. Following both CPR and application and use of a defibrillator, emergency responders, they were returned to spontaneous circulation by the patient. The resident was transported to Metro West Center and discharged several days later. Firefighter Mahoney is being recognized as being a critical link in the chain of survival for that patient. Thank you. Lieutenant EMT Brian Kramer. On Saturday, July 13, 2019, at 9:54 a.m., Lieutenant EMT Brian Kramer was enjoying breakfast at the Holliston Grill when a serious motor vehicle crash occurred just outside the restaurant on Washington Street. Lieutenant Kramer immediately retrieved equipment and supplies from his vehicle and began treating the most critically injured patient in the roadway. After his rapid size-up of the extent of the patient's injuries, Lieutenant Kramer used the portable radio issued 2 days earlier after his promotion from firefighter to lieutenant to request additional resources. Working with the team of first responders, police officers, EMTs from Holliston Fire, and paramedics from Hopkinton Fire, who were dispatched to the scene, Lieutenant Kramer ensured continuity of care for the patient prior to the transport to the hospital. Although the patient succumbed to her injuries, Lieutenant Kramer's years of experience as an EMT made certain the patient received the highest level of care available in the pre-hospital setting. Lieutenant Kramer is being recognized for his rapid response and skilled interventions. Representing the command staff of the police department, Sergeant George Lorini. As I call your name, please come up. I will read the citation from Chief Stone, and If there's more than one officer for a particular award, I'll call all of you up together. First one is Detective Kara McGuire. Upon the recommendation of Lieutenant Chad Thompson, which I completely agree and support, I am pleased to announce that you are hereby honored for this medal for your involvement in 2 complex investigations. On August 21st, 2018, after learning of a breaking and entering in the town of Holliston, you began an extensive investigation that lasted several weeks. During this time, you worked collaboratively with neighboring agencies to discover that the incident in Holliston matched several similar incidents in surrounding towns. Working with several local agencies, you were able to identify the suspects involved and ultimately effected their arrest. These suspects would have undoubtedly gone undetected had it not been for your unrelenting and tireless investigative approach. On May 5, 2019, you learned of a possible embezzlement of a large sum of money from the estate of a resident of Holliston by their attorney. After several weeks of investigation and working closely with the Massachusetts Board of Bar Overseers, you were able to develop probable cause and charge an attorney with embezzlement of funds exceeding $180,000. You have consistently shown that you are capable and effective investigator. Your attention to detail, communication skills, and work ethic have all shown to be indispensable in the success of your many investigations. Your steadfast efforts are both outstanding and commendable. Thank you for upholding the high standards of this organization, and please know that your actions are tremendously respected and publicly recognized for their contribution to public safety. Thank you. Sergeant Glenn Dalrymple. Upon the enthusiastic recommendation of Lieutenant Craig Denman, which I completely agree and endorse, I am pleased to present you with the Department Life-Saving Award and the American Legion Medal of Merit for your extraordinary efforts on a medical emergency call on the morning of December 10, 2018. You, along with Officer Ward, were dispatched to 13 Colonial Way for a report of an unresponsive female down in the driveway. Upon arriving, you observed a woman performing chest compressions on the woman who was unresponsive. The patient was pale in color, not breathing, and a carotid pulse was undetected. You and Officer Ward attached the AED to the patient and both began to perform CPR on the patient. Officer Ward then delivered 2 shocks by the AED. The patient slowly began breathing again and her pulse returned. You then switched from giving breaths to providing the patient with oxygen. Holliston Fire Ambulance arrived on the scene with paramedics and prepared the patient for transport to a local hospital for further eval. I speak on behalf of the entire department when I say that we are extremely proud of your performance on this call. And I'm sure the patient's family is eternally grateful for what you and Officer Ward were able to do to save this man's life. If not for the swift action of the patient's neighbor and the skilled response by both you and Officer Ward, this patient would not have survived. Your proficient life-saving skills and determination are what all of us strive for in this profession. Thank you for upholding the high standards of the organization, and please know that your actions are tremendously admired and publicly recognized for their contribution to public safety. Sergeant Jonathan Remkus, Officer Ethan Coakley, and Officer Felicia Philadelphia. I am pleased to present you with the Department Life Saving Award and the American Legion Medal of Merit for your extraordinary efforts on a medical emergency call on the evening of July 21st, 2019. The three of you were dispatched to the area of 36 Appleyard Lane in Holliston for the report of an unresponsive female in the middle of the roadway. After finding the responsive pulse, you directed to apply the AED to apply oxygen from an ambu bag. Chest compressions were begun, and at this time the AED was activated and indicated a shock which was given. You then resumed chest compressions, applying breaths with the ambu bag. A pulse was initially found but soon faded. Second shock was then delivered. It was around this time that fire ambulance arrived on the scene. Soon thereafter, a third shock was delivered to the female. She was then transported for further treatment. I speak on behalf of the entire department when I say that we are extremely proud of your performance on this call, and I'm sure the patient's family is eternally grateful for you. If not for swift action and skilled response, this patient would not have survived. Your proficient life-saving skills and determination are what all of us strive for in this profession. Thank you for upholding the high standards of this organization, and please know that your actions are highly admired and publicly recognized for their contribution to public safety. Thank you. Sergeant Jonathan Remkus and Officer David Charette. Upon the recommendation of Lieutenant Chad Thompson, which I completely agree and support, I am pleased to announce that you are hereby honored with the Department's Police Commendation Award and the American Legion Medal of Merit, and it's a call for service on August 2, 2019. On the night of August 2, 2019, you responded to 52 Northway Street for a report of a vehicle that was left running inside of a garage. Upon arrival, Officer Charette was directed by the calling party to where the garage was located. Reached the garage, could hear what sounded like a vehicle running inside. Opened the doors and observed the car in question. Approached the vehicle to shut it down and observed a person lying on the passenger's front seat. At this point, he found the car to be locked. Officer Charette was able to observe the person move slightly and then immediately radioed dispatch to call for the ambulance. Noticed a hose that was connected to the tailpipe and inserted through the driver's window. Removed the hose and inserted the baton to break open the window and unlock the driver's door. Because of the confines of the garage, you then, Sergeant Remkus directed Officer Charette to back the vehicle out of the garage so they could begin medical treatment. Once the vehicle was removed from the garage and removed the person from the vehicle, began the treatment, applied the AED to the person and administered oxygen. Several minutes later, the ambulance arrived on scene and you assisted with loading the person into the ambulance. The person was then transported to the hospital for further medical treatment. Because of both your quick actions on this evening, the person survived this incident. Thank you for upholding the high standards of this organization, and please know that your actions are tremendously respected and publicly recognized for their contribution to public safety. Thank you. That concludes our awards ceremony. I thank you all for being here. We have plenty of breakfast in the back for anyone who wants to help join in so that we don't have to take that home. And have a good day. Thank you very much.